in today. You've been my joy in the time of sorrow. Hope for my tomorrow. Peace in the time of storm. Strength when I'm weak and worn. I can never repay you, Lord, for what you've done for me. How you loose the shackles and you set me free. How you made a way out of no way. Turn my darkness into day. You've been my joy in the time of sorrow. Hope for my tomorrow. Peace in the time of storm. Strength when I'm weak and worn. I can never repay you, Lord, for what you've done for me. How you loose the shackles and you set me free. How you made a way out of no way. Turn my darkness into day. You've been my joy in the time of sorrow. Hope for my tomorrow. Peace in the time of storm. Strength when I'm weak and worn. I can never repay you, Lord, for what you've done for me. How you loose the shackles and you set me free. How you made a way out of no way. Turn my darkness into day. You've been my joy in the time of sorrow. Hope for my tomorrow. Peace in the time of storm. Strength when I'm weak and worn. You've been, Lord, you've been so faithful. You've been, Lord, you've been so faithful. You've been, Lord, you've been so faithful.
A pleasant good Sunday morning to you. You know, the good thing, I sort of feel like a DJ sometimes. I get to sort of pick the music that we play, and sometimes there's music that just speaks directly to me. As many of you know, that is one of my all-time favorite songs. You've been so faithful. So thanks to Jeff and Chrissy for getting our morning started off with that wonderful song of praise. Good morning and welcome to our Sunday morning worship experience here at the Emmaus Baptist Church. My name is Tommy Fleming. I have the absolute privilege and honor of pastoring some of the finest folk in the world. And I just want to say good morning to all of them, whether you're joining us by our Facebook feed, whether you're joining us via a YouTube viewing later on, or on our teleconference. Welcome again to our morning worship experience. I hope you guys are staying warm. It is still icy outside, and the Virginia Department of Transportation is recommending that if you don't have to be anywhere, that you ought to just stay home today. Do some nesting, do some cooking, do some baking. I'm planning on baking a cake myself a little bit later on today. Again, we don't want to belabor the morning, but we are just so happy that we had the opportunity to be with you today. And I want to, before we go any further, you know, February is Black History Month. It is the official recognition of the contributions that African Americans have made to the history and the development of this great country. Of course, we ought to be celebrating it 365 days out of the year. But at this particular time and this particular period, it is important that we share as much as we can about Black history. And today I want to drop a couple of did you know Black history facts on you. Did you know that there was once a Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma? Tulsa, Oklahoma was one of the most affluent African American communities in the early 1900s. And it was dubbed Black Wall Street because it was filled with African American doctors, lawyers, and entrepreneurs, even though Jim Crow was still the law of the land. With 15,000 residents, 600 Black-owned businesses were thriving, but they also drew a dangerous amount of envy from area whites. And towards that end, on June 1st, 1921, Black Wall Street was destroyed by bombs and fire, killing nearly 300 people And that neighborhood never recovered from that. Did you know that the first black woman ran for president back in 1972? And she was almost assassinated 3 times. Shirley Chisholm has the honor of being the first black person to do a lot of things. She was the first black woman elected to the U.S. Congress. She was the first black woman member of the Congressional Rules Committee. She was even a founding member of the Congressional Black Caucus and also the Congressional Women's Caucus. She was also the first black woman to run for president. And back in 1978, I had the absolute pleasure and honor, along with my classmates in high school, to visit Congress and to actually meet her in person. During that 1972 run for president, she garnered 10% of the vote at the Democratic National Convention in 1972, though she failed to win the nomination. She was forced to survive 3 assassination attempts during her presidential run. And some say it was her bid that laid the groundwork for future presidential bids, not only by women, but also by the first African American male to hold the position of President of the United States. These Black History facts should not be relegated to February. You ought to commit yourself to finding out at least one important Black History Month fact each and every day. And if you're feeling adventurous, make it 2 facts a day. But again, during the month of February, attention is drawn to Black History Month. And so we want to keep in line with that and make sure that we share that information with you. We're going to come back in just a second with a brief word from the Lord. But in the meantime, I want you to sit back and enjoy this from our music ministry here at the Emmaus Baptist Church. Well, that is one song that makes me keenly aware of the fact that that we're not in the sanctuary. When the gospel travelers sing that song, it's just wow, wow. There is no way I can live without you. Again, a good morning to you, and thank you for joining us for this morning's worship experience. I don't know if you're aware of it, but today is Valentine's Day. Today is that official day in February when we reach out and tell people how much we love them, when we reach out, tell people how much they mean to us. We send roses, we send greeting cards, we send chocolates, we make reservations, we go out for dinner. We do all of these incredible things to show the ones we love that we do in fact love them. And it is one thing I've learned, that anything we feel compelled to do in our natural sense of living and being probably it does not line up 100% with the way God wants us to do things. If you think about it, the concept of loving someone without any return is radical for us. If you can imagine, I don't know about you, but I remember one or two times when I was in elementary school, when I maybe even in middle school, and I don't know, I'm pretty sure I'd gotten past that stage by high school, but you would either pass a note or have someone else deliver a note for you. And that note would say something as simple as, I love you, do you love me? With a checkbox for yes or a checkbox for no. And then again, that's probably something that I'm the only person who's ever done that. But I can remember writing one or two, maybe 5 or 6 of those notes because it was the thing to do. That if you saw someone you liked, that you didn't walk up to them and tell them that you like them, because there was a good chance you'd get your feelings hurt. But what you would do is you just write a note, and you would have someone else deliver the note. You'd have somebody else pick up the note as well, just in case no was checked. And so this concept of loving someone without receiving anything in exchange for your love is sort of foreign to us in our natural walk within life. The Bible is replete with verses that speak to love. 1 Corinthians, the 13th chapter, is often called the love chapter. And it says, though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not charity, I am becoming as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing. Charity suffereth long and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinking no evil, rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth, beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Charity never faileth, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. And when I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known. And now abideth faith, hope, and charity, these three, but the greatest of these is charity. And you must understand when reading this in the King James Version that that word charity simply means love. It is another expression of love. And the Apostle Paul, when he drafted this, was dealing with a church that was enamored with religious activity. The church folk prided themselves on their ability to prophesy. They prided themselves on their ability to operate within the gifts of the Spirit, prophecy, speaking in tongues. Those were things that people boasted about and took great pride. Their giving to the poor, they took great pride in it. And Paul says that all of these things, if they're not done out of charity, if they're not done out of a sense of love for your fellow mankind, it profiteth you not at all. That you become like a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And Paul said, if you have the gift of prophecy, if you could speak in all tongues, if you understood all mysteries and you had all the knowledge in the world, if you had so much faith that you could speak to the mountain and have the mountain removed, but if you didn't have love, those things didn't amount to anything. Paul says that love or charity requires something of you. Charity or love requires you to suffer long. That it requires you to not envy, to not be vaunted or puffed up. He said, charity beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things, and that in the end, charity, love, never fails. But where there be prophecies, they'll fail. Where there be tongues, one day those tongues shall cease. And where there be knowledge of the greatest mysteries in the world, it shall soon vanish away. Paul says, for we know in part and we prophesy in part. In the gospel according to Matthew, Jesus was asked about love, or asked rather about the greatest commandment. A young lawyer came up to him in Matthew chapter 22. Beginning at verse 36, and said to him, Master, which is the greatest commandment in the law? And Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And he said, the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. In other words, what Jesus is saying is that you love God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, and then love your neighbor as if your neighbor were you. Think about that. I know very often we grew up learning about the golden rule. The golden rule says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And you know, if I might be honest with you, I would call that the silver rule. At best, it may even be the bronze rule, because the instruction is to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And if I might be honest with you, if I was given the choice to do unto others as I would have them do unto me, my do unto me would be subject to change. I know it's difficult. It's a thought I have, and I have difficulty expressing it. So let's try it this way. One morning, I might want you to treat me in X way, and so I'll treat you in that way. One morning I may want something from you, and as a result of my wanting something from you, I will treat you in a particular way on Monday. because I want something from you. But on Tuesday, when I no longer want anything from you, when I no longer feel I have a need of anything from you, I might treat you in some way totally different. As a matter of fact, I might not even speak to you on Tuesday because I don't have a need for you or anything that you have. You understand that a love that is predicated upon a need, a love that is predicated upon developing or obtaining a certain reaction from someone or a certain response is not the kind of love God intended for us. Rather, the text says, "Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself." That you treat your neighbor as you would treat yourself. And it's so much deeper than that golden rule, that silver rule, that bronze rule, because the love I have for myself does not change. The way I would treat myself does not change. I treat myself the best way possible. I'm willing to sacrifice. But when it comes down to the final analysis, the deepest love you have for someone is when you're willing and committed to loving that person as if they were yourself. Now, we could go on for days talking about love, but the most important love there is the love that God has shared with and for us. I know everyone is familiar with the John 3:16, one of the preeminent verses on love. It says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." And that is the kind of love God extended towards us. And we have an appreciation for that love because we understand that Christ died for our sins. John 3:16, again, it says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him would not perish, but have everlasting life." And that seems, that's extraordinary. But it becomes even more extraordinary when you take it in the context of Romans 5:28. Yes, John says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." But that declaration was made in the context of what Paul reveals to us in Romans 5:28. Romans 5:28 said, "But God commended his love towards us, in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us." The text, John 3:16, doesn't say that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son so that we could all prosper, but it said we should not perish, but have everlasting life. And God didn't wait for us to get to a place where we had perfected our walk, not become perfect, but we had gotten better at the things we do, that we had drawn closer to him, that God made that sacrifice while we were yet sinners, that God commended his love towards us, and that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. And Christ died a cruel death. He died on an old rugged cross on a hill called Calvary. And when he died on that old rugged cross, he had a crown of thorns pressed down upon his head. A sword had pierced his side, and his hands and feet were nailed to this cross. And it is the perfect expression of love, because God loved us this much. God loved us so much that he gave his only begotten Son, that if we would only believe in him, we would not perish. And then he did that while we were yet sinners. God didn't wait for us to dot the I and cross the T, but while we were still messed up, while we were still toe up from the flow up, while we were still down and out, God commended his love toward us. Christ died for us. One of the most challenging scriptures you will hear in at least in what I've seen, is in John again. And it says, "Greater love hath no man than this, than he laid down his life for a friend. And I often say that God, in guiding us to this text, does not expect us to sacrifice our lives for others. We should be willing to go as far as we need to go to accommodate the needs of others within our lives. But it really speaks to a willingness to allow your natural self to just die away slowly, day by day, so that you begin to think of others as if they were yourself. And it really challenges and changes the view you have towards life. So here's the thing. In addition to sending out Valentine cards, in addition to sending out notes that say, do you love me? Check yes or no. In addition to sending out chocolates and all of these other expressions we have of love, let's start treating our neighbor as if they were ourselves. Let's not focus so much on doing unto others what we would have them do unto us, but let's treat other people as if they were completely ourselves. I'm telling you, it'll change your perspective, it'll change the way you see things, and it will change the way you operate within your life. I hope this day is just incredibly blessed for you. I hope you stay safe. I hope if you have the opportunity to, you will stay in the house and off of the streets as the Department of Transportation has recommended. And be safe, be careful, and continue to love one another. This is Tommy Fleming signing off for the Emmaus Baptist Church. God bless you and may heaven smile upon you.